Episode 3. Oh, Rambleland, episode 3. Woo! What an episode. So, this time, I had a gentleman called Tolga on. Many of you may not know him, but he is a person you should follow on Instagram. This dude, I don't even know how to introduce him, what can do it justice. My housemate Gino met him for a few minutes after the podcast, and after he'd left, he goes, "Hey man, that dude, that's a cool guy." And I actually think that's the best way to describe him. This dude is a cool guy. So, Turkish, moved to America on his own at 17, got a scholarship to colleges in America, studied engineering, finished in biology, self-taught English as well, might I just throw that in there, got medicine here in Ireland. While completing medicine, he won the Irish bodybuilding championship, then won the Europeans, did it all without a personal trainer or coach, self-taught nutrition expert, strength and conditioning master, calisthenic wizard, body of a god. I think I'm in love. Very fascinating dude. He's got buckets and buckets of information. You can see, like, our problem with this podcast was that we ran out of battery power, and he was still spurting off. You'll see at the very end of the podcast, we were finished. It was wrapped up. We were outside, and he was still like, just one more thing. Let me get in one more thing. I'm 100% going to get the man back. There's so much information just ready to go. He's a fantastic storyteller too, very engaging. But no Rambleland so far has gone without its hitches. So the Timmy B Screw Up special is, when you get new equipment, you're supposed to do a trial run before you need it for the main show. Nah. I was like, yeah, it's grand. The other one plugs and plays. This was just going to be a plug and play job. It wasn't a plug and play job. As it turns out, A and B, it's not a straight line. Not a straight line at all. No, sir. The other one works as plug and play. This one, no. Once you bring two in it, it gets super complicated. And you can see those computer guys sitting there like, what's he trying to do? He's trying to go from A to B. Well, sir, A to B is very complex. It may look like a straight line to you, Dumbo, but for us, we gotta show off our technical abilities. Therefore, we've installed what we call the scenic route. So that's where you go up over the mountain of no one cares, down around the meander of confusion, back over where you've already been, swooping around Neverland. Then, just when you think you're getting to B, you realize B was never there. B was always off down at C. And don't even get me started what's after B. That is my highly technical interpretation of what computer boys are doing when they're writing computer software. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't understand computer language to begin with. So, we're still operating off a single mic. I think I have it sorted for next week. So for now, you're still going to have to put up with the fact that I sound like I'm trapped inside a clay pot. But you can hear Tolga, and that's all that matters. So Rambleland episode 3 with Tolga, the cool guy.
All right.
So, Tolga.
Hi.
Lovely to have you here. How are you today?
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm great today. It's a nice place that you got. Really nice.
Thank you.
I wish everyone could see it. Living in student accommodation, you just don't get to have good views like this one.
Yeah, no, we are particularly fortunate to be living out here, man. Like, I don't even want to be going on about it because I feel kind of, not guilty, but there's a part of me that's like, people don't need to know that.
Well, you were paying for it, right?
It's actually not as expensive as you'd expect.
Okay.
Like, I'd be paying the same sort of difference as if you were living in alright accommodation in the city centre. Like the last place I had before this was €150 more expensive.
Really?
Per month, yeah.
Oh, it's very good. Well, you have a car, so that's...
Yeah, that's the other big advantage. Is you wouldn't be able to live out here if you did. There is a bus right outside.
Yeah.
But I hate buses.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
Congratulations on your podcast.
Thank you.
It's not an easy thing to have. You have the equipment, you have a setup, which is great. You know, it takes a lot of time. I can tell.
Yeah, it does take time. And what really caught me on the hop was the editing.
Editing, yeah.
Man, that editing is going to be the death of me.
Yeah, I know.
I hate it. I hate it. Last week I had a fella, good old Ryan Spillane on with me last week. And I put together the whole thing, took another day, and then my laptop goes 9 hours of rendering. I was like, alright, whatever. But I had a problem with the synchronization of the audio.
Right.
And I said I'd just go for it. I was hoping the rendering might fix the synchronization. It didn't. I got one of the lads to watch it. He was like, man, it's unwatchable. Like, nothing makes sense. So yesterday, I had to give yesterday to redoing it again and fixing everything. So I had to edit his video from start to finish twice. And on top of that, it still took an extra 1.5 hours to render it yesterday. So it was 10 hours and 50 minutes or something to render it.
Well,
it's insane.
It's a new skill to learn, I suppose, and it'll be useful in the future, whatever you do. If you want to do YouTube, if you want to do more, just videos or podcasts,
well,
it'll be useful.
I was impressed about is your videos that you upload to Instagram, because they're very good quality. You have a fantastic lapel mic, and you have it all prepped out, so you have your notes already up, and then you talk through the notes,
right,
rather than writing them and going.
Yeah, definitely. So I try to do like in one go. Sometimes I have to stop, so beforehand I have to think about what I'll say, and I have a rough idea, and I just go in front of the camera, and I just do it in one go. Which is sometimes when you make a mistake, you just stop the whole thing, and then you go, well, I have to redo it, I suppose, because my editing skills are not there, so I have to redo the whole video instead of editing. So
you don't have to do any editing at all?
Not really. I just
do full shoots.
Exactly.
Hope that it all goes well.
I have the iMovie thing on the iPad, so I just transfer it from my phone, do a quick edit. Sometimes I have a small part where I can cut out or shorten, and that's what I do. I don't know how to use the Adobe Premiere, I think.
Oh man, I don't have that one. That's an expensive one. That's like if you're really into editing.
Right.
Maybe one day I'll move and get that yoke, but the minute I'm using Cyberlink, so I have to pay for it as well. But it's not as costly. I think Adobe has that monthly.
Monthly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not into that. But do you use a teleprompter or anything?
No.
So all those big scientific words that you have just
out of my
Seriously?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
that's so impressive.
So yeah, because like I wouldn't know how to use a teleprompter because I wouldn't be able to. I don't have a proper stand really. I just I put my pillows on top sometimes. I do have a tripod. It's a small one, so I just put a chair and then a tripod on top of that. Whatever angle I can get.
I'll ask you, I should show you. There's a picture on my phone from when I used to be into Instagram and taking photos and all that. But I never wanted to ask anyone to take photos of me. So I remember there's a few shots I used to take, and it looks like someone took a photo of me.
Right.
But what it is, and I have a picture of how I made timer. But I have 4 chairs stacked one by one in order to get a head high photo, and the phone was leaning against the back of the chairs on a timer.
Delicate balance.
Even now, I may as well admit this, I'm waiting on the second tripod, and there's 2 chairs back to back, and the camera that's on you now is sitting on those 2 chairs, and so
creativity,
man. You just have to make do with it at the beginning.
You have to.
But I was particularly blessed with Bran giving me all this equipment, because there's no way I could have pulled this off as fast.
I don't think last time I checked, Apple didn't start in their office in Palo Alto. I think they start in a garage. So
exactly.
You make the
same with Amazon. I think
same thing.
Stuff out of his garage.
Same thing.
So tell me, training. Have you trained today?
Well, let me introduce myself, I suppose.
By all means, Tolga, go
so I'm Tolga. I'm Tolga Hatay. I'm a final year medical student at UCC. And I have a previous biology degree where I initially started college years ago. I'm 27 now. Years ago with engineering. I did study engineering for 3 years, but I had an event happen to me. Not to me, I suppose. Like I had an experience where I had an epiphany that I wanted to go into medicine.
Okay.
So I switched my major in undergrad and switched to biology just to be able to get the prerequisite classes, just to cover those, like biochemistry, chemistry, organic chemistry, all of that before I go into medical school, so I could have an understanding. And then I switched to biology, and I finished that in 2 years, I believe. So I graduated with a biology degree. So one of my future goals is maybe go back to college and get the engineering degree, because I do have many credits for engineering as well.
How many more years would you have had in engineering?
A year more. That
and then in order then for the transition, you had to do 2 years of biology.
Yeah, because I had the prerequisites, like English and social sciences and all those classes that are required for you to get a degree. And I did take a lot of like credits during those years. I instead of taking like full time, I went full time and a half, and I did take summer classes just to be able to catch up and graduate with a biology degree. So yeah, that was really what I did during undergrad, and now I'm studying medicine, and I'm in my final year at the moment.
Okay.
And I have special interest in bodybuilding and all things athletic, I suppose. Sports, nutrition. And here and there I nerd out about video games. I used to video games, movies, and just like reading up about historical events and stuff like that. Yeah.
And was that engineering so you're from...
I was born in Turkey. I grew up in Turkey, and then I moved to the US, California to be exact, just to start college and learn English and improve myself, be a world citizen, I suppose. And then I started college, and things were going good. Things were going well, I suppose. And then I just wanted to continue.
And so what age were you when you left Turkey?
I think I passed 17 or 18, yeah. So it was late teens.
Wow. You left your childhood behind you.
I did, yeah. I did. It wasn't... Well, I suppose it wasn't so hard because I grew up in a small town in Turkey, and we don't have a university where I'm from. So everybody
moves at some stage.
Yeah, when they get to that age, they just move. And for me, it was, instead of moving like 300 kilometers away, it was 3,000 miles. So
see, where would most people go from in Turkey? Is it Istanbul?
Yeah, so Istanbul would be the big city, but I lived in the southwest corner of the Turkish coast, and that's where your holiday places would be, where places like Fethiye, Marmaris, Bodrum, all those places that people would prefer in the summertime. That's where I grew up, and people would, the system, like you have the leaving cert here in Turkey. At the end of the year, you take this big exam, and depending on your score, you pick certain universities, and then if you can get in, you get into that particular university, and then you move. So there's no set place that people want to go.
Okay.
I mean, they would ideally want to go to Istanbul or Izmir, like big cities, but it all depends on their score.
And that's not due to a lack of universities.
No, not really.
The system that they have.
Yeah. So where I'm from, like, there are a lot of universities. I think there are more universities than they need, because what I see in Turkey, as a lack of a better term, they don't have enough people who are doing trade.
Okay.
Properly, proper trade school.
Yeah. When you say trade, you mean
building, carpentry, welding, all that stuff. Because maybe like 30 years ago, there was this move to get everybody to school, and that kind of led to this notion of, trade jobs are not that prestigious and stuff like that. So
that's actually interesting, because Ireland had the same sort of transition from what was important and what wasn't, because like up, like, so, say 50 years ago and beyond, it was you left school at probably 16, you didn't do the leaving cert, or at the very least 50 years ago maybe you were, the era for the importance of leaving cert was just coming in where people were going on, but most people probably left at 16 and went working parents' jobs, or went getting what we call trade school, we call apprenticeships.
Yeah.
So you went got an apprenticeship in whatever skill, and that was you. That was pretty much you for life, more or less.
Yeah.
And then the importance of getting that piece of paper, getting your leaving cert, going to college began to push up, and the drop in demand for apprenticeships and people going to apprenticeships went up, and college became the big emphasis. But we've seen in the last sort of 5 years or so that pendulum swinging back. Now a load of fellas are going into apprenticeships again because there's a lot of money there. So you're getting paid to go to college.
Right.
You're not getting told what to do. You're not. You're not in so much of a rigid form as college. You're working. You're with other fellas, and there's a bit more banter around apprenticeships. It seems to be, and there's an appeal for that.
I suppose it's more focused on that job that you're learning.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that reassurance, because people go to college for, sorry for my, I guess, English, but these made up courses. I'm sorry, I'm not like looking down on anyone or whatever, but like, there's like stuff that historically been associated with high degree of unemployment, because they're not too useful. Well, everything is useful, I suppose, in the society, but like compared to your other jobs, such as building and stuff like that, they're not too useful. And people go and get those degrees and they don't know what to do. And a lot of people in Turkey, they're a victim of that, because they have these degrees, but they have no idea what they want to do with it, or even if they can do anything with it, really.
A lot of those courses are very theoretical. And so you come out of college saying, I have a degree now. And it's like, all right, but I need you for this job. Yeah. So what skills have you that going to bring to this job that's going to make me give it to you? Mm-hmm. Well, I know all about this piece of history. Mm-hmm. And so, okay. And what are your customer service skills? How are you interacting? How are your money skills?
Unless they want to go back into college and retrain or maybe like engage in that field, but be a teacher. And that's, I think in Turkey, I'm just talking about Turkey. I don't know anywhere else. So what that led to, people having degrees but not really having skills. And because of that, this constant cycle of you go to college and then you're unemployed and then you have to learn a new skill, and you're just like 4 years behind. And it is important for people to realize that what is your end goal, why do you want to do that degree? And if you have a clear vision, then you can make anything work. But if you don't, if you're just going to college because your friends are going, which is a lot of people, so that's what's happening in Turkey. You have this exam where everybody kind of needs to take, but when you ask kids, like, why are you doing this? And most oftentimes, this is how it goes. So, for example, I get like this score, let's say out of 100, right? I get 80, and depending on like my luck and how many people are applying, I could either be getting into law or engineering or biology, and none of these are related, and that's how people's list of choices look like. They don't have focus. They have choices that are unrelated, and whichever way they go, they're not going to be 100% sure.
Parental pressure.
Yes,
pushing them to
it
do
is.
Something
to
make it look like
societal pressure. Their friends are going to school and they don't. But like
that's different again, because I was going to touch on that one, because in Ireland that's a big problem. Where students only go to college for the session, for the drinking, for the messing, and to have a good time. They don't understand. They really don't understand. A lot of students don't understand what college is actually meant to be for.
Right. And I guess that's a part of it too. Like that social.
The parental one is another one again, though, because that's especially in some cultures where, say, your parents maybe had it tough coming up, they rely on you to get your feet under you and to look like you're a productive, hard-working individual that they can be proud of. And then obviously different cultures put different levels of pressure on what that looks like. And so a big thing then, and why it's slightly different from picking a college course depending on where your friends go, is because it's almost out of this fear of rejection from the parents that some students would rush into some course that sounds prestigious. Maybe they don't have the aptitude for it, maybe they do, but they don't have the interest for it, and then they just begin to spiral. If they're not interested in the course, they're lethargic, maybe they get a bit neurotic, they're not enjoying it, and then they feel, oh, if I can't make it at this, then it must be useless. And it's a slippery slope.
It is definitely. So having the different perspective of living in Turkey, having friends and family in Turkey, as well as living in the US and having friends and family there, I have an ideal kind of university system in my head. But in the US, what I notice is that their education in high school, so you're for average student, it wouldn't be too hard compared to Turkey. So I learned multivariable calculus and stuff like that in high school. That was mandatory for my high school, and I was way above your average US high school student. So in college, like first few classes I've already learned in high school, and in the US it would be like AP classes, and that would be like selected few students that really want to do that. But what I realized later was that even though I knew these things and everything, people who wanted to go to college around me, they actually wanted to go to college, and they ended up improving and catching up and learning a bunch of things. And by the end of a year or two, they were great. And I kept in contact with friends back home, even though they've been through a vigorous kind of hardship of learning all the difficult subjects, difficult for me at least, or a lot of people, like multivariable calculus, organic chemistry in high school and all that stuff. In college they kind of lost that edge because nobody was forcing them to do anything, and they were kind of like the same level as the kids in the US because they didn't want to continue learning. And I think college is more like there's more self-learning involved.
Big time.
So
but that's not taught in high school.
Yeah, no.
And so
exactly
that concept of managing yourself and your own time and your own personality in the pursuit of achievement is not instructed into students, and they don't understand. And then they go in, they go, wait a minute, I'm not going to get in trouble if I don't do this work.
No.
I don't have to go to the lecture. No one's going to say I'm in trouble. Oh, nice, I'm going to stay and I'm going to drink for the day. And they create this bad habit from the off.
Right.
Because no one's given them the skills or prepare them that this is what they're going to have to do.
Yeah. So another wrong mindset I've seen as well in high school, which was same as me. Like I had that same mindset. So since the classes are so hard and you need to get ready for that big test, the big leaving cert of Turkey, you study a lot, and then how they motivate you is this: once you're done, it's going to be easy. You're going to relax in college. So you're going into college with that mindset. There, your parents, your teachers are telling you, look, keep studying 8-10 hours a day, push. Once you're done, you don't have to do anything. You can put anyone in college and they'll graduate. Yeah, but there's a difference between graduating and learning and wanting to do the things that you're doing in college. So a lot of people get into college and they're like, we still have to study? What? And that's the thing. Whereas if you're the type of person who chooses to go to college and then realize college is an environment where you improve yourself and you have to kind of, keep learning. It's a constant pursuit of learning. So if you keep doing that, then you'll be motivated every day. And that's the difference. That's the same thing where if somebody decides to lose weight on themselves and they make, informed decisions about I shouldn't eat this, I shouldn't eat that, versus somebody who gets the pressure from their family or something like that, and they tell them, look, you should stop eating or something like that. They will do the diet for a week or two, but they'll stop behind closed doors because they don't want to do that. Yeah. They haven't decided themselves, and that's a big difference.
And that's an interesting one because that's something I only learned when when I left school, I didn't go straight to college because I didn't know what to do. And my mother thought that was the end for me. Because like I didn't really get on in school. I got in a bit of trouble at the end of school. And so when I came out of school, then I was like, I'm not going to college. She was just like, oh well, that's it. Whatever. I've got to drop out. I'm a failure of a kid. Here we go.
Right.
And so I worked in KFC for a year. Then I learned to manage money because I bought my first car. I paid for insurance. I began to really understand the value of finances and how it works. And then I was looking back because I was actually fortunate because a lot of my friends didn't go to college at the same year. Right. So I wasn't alone. That was a big one. I had friends and stuff around town, so that stopped me getting down on myself. But I also knew so KFC minimum wage job. I said, right, well, whatever happens in life, I'm not staying at minimum wage, and that's one thing I know for sure.
Right.
And that entire year taught me that you cannot live off minimum wage. So now I had to learn. I'm going to have to move myself out of this position. How am I going to do that? Well, one of the best ways of doing it is with that sheet of paper that you get at the end of college. And I was like, right, well, I don't like any of these college courses, so I'm not going to do any of these college courses. And then I started looking through what we have here called PLC, so post-leaving cert courses. And so then you see, that was the factor. What pushed me into post-leaving cert courses, because I found one course in college that I was interested in, criminology. I was like, that sounds like something I could get my head behind. But I didn't get the points for it in the leaving cert. So I was like, I ruled that out. Once the leaving cert come and gone, I didn't do well in it. I wasn't motivated for it because I had no goal.
Right.
So I was just doing it because my mother was shouting at me when I went home, so that was it. And so I finished it, didn't get the points, forgot about the course that I actually wanted to do. Then I found out about PLCs, and in each college course there's a certain number of places held for students who have come through PLCs. And I found a PLC in Cork for, it was Policing and Security Studies, which complicatedly I didn't go into. It's a long story, it's not important. I ended up then in legal studies, so it's a level 5 legal studies course. Gave me I'm actually qualified as a legal secretary, would you believe? I'd be the ugliest secretary you could ever walk in on. But so I had that, and off that course I could get into criminology.
Yeah.
There was 5 places held for those students, but the PLC was handy. It was easy, and I was motivated, and all of a sudden I was crunching through.
That's
it.
it.
Was fascinating, and there was family law, criminal law, civil law, and I've got interest in all those things. And I aced it. I had 8 subjects, all 8 distinctions, no problem. Got into college course off it. 3 years of criminology, and I did very well. I got 2-1, second highest you can get. And I watched people who came in straight out of the leaving certs into criminology not do as well, and then I watched other people who had already been to college before I went to college who weren't doing well and dropping out and doing this and doing that. And the difference between us all was I wanted to be in criminology for that course.
Yeah.
And all the other people I saw flunking here and failing there, they had rushed into the course.
Exactly.
Whatever course they picked.
Exactly.
And they hadn't planned it, and it was failing for them. And what really hurt me was people who I knew hated their course and didn't have the balls to pull out.
Yeah.
They stayed in it, got super depressed, maybe attempted their life, wasted all their money, really destroyed their self-confidence, lost sporting careers, lost all these opportunities because they couldn't bring themselves to, whether it was face the embarrassment of telling their parents they were failing, whether it was for whatever reason they couldn't face their parents and tell them I'm failing, whatever it was, and they kept along on this drifter course and never seemed to do well out of it.
That's
the
thing.
It all comes down to wanting to be there or not.
Exactly. So and a lot of people lack purpose these days, and when you get a sense of purpose, you tend to you can do something every day. And that's the thing, because if I were to tell you like, oh, you're just gonna do 10 reps today, just push-ups, right? And you'll ask me why, and I won't tell you anything. But if I were to tell you like, oh, look, your chest looks like this, you were gonna have to improve this because we're getting you ready for a competition. It makes more sense. If you have a big goal, big overarching kind of goal, it's really important. That's the thing where I notice with people who are going to trade jobs as well, like if they want to do it. So again, if they choose to go, and they seem to be happier people. They banter and they talk and they chat because they want to do that. And there's no societal pressure to do that.
And you can see it even in jobs and stuff. particularly like minimum wage jobs, you know the people who are bitter and who hate their lives and
Exactly.
hate their job. You can see it on them.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're overweight. They're unnecessarily grumpy. They may have skin problems and all the whatever psychological pressures that they're dealing with comes out in the flesh, and you can see it.
So yeah, it's so from that point of view, in the US they have more freedom to pick all the classes that you want to do. So it's not like here where you're less, you have less wiggle room. So you can pick one or two courses, but usually your courses are made for you.
Mm-hmm.
Over in the US, which is different from Turkey or here, it's there's more freedom. So you can pick a lot of random courses, which I did, and like it was really entertaining. You realize college is about learning and personal development, and there are people who are there to help you, not these dictators, I'm gonna grade you, or no. I had a good relationship with a lot of teachers.
When you went to America, you were 17 roughly.
Yeah.
Were you on your own?
Yes, on my own, completely, having no knowledge of how to conduct myself as an adult. So that
pushed you over to America.
So, I've always wanted to get out there and be more, international, because I've realized that the world is big. Yeah, because I lived in a holiday town and we had people come in from all over the place. Yeah. Seeing them and learning about their lives intrigued me a lot. I was very intrigued and I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be part of the big picture. Yes. And I wanted to get out there and learn more and I suppose be more. So I told my dad and he agreed with me. At that time we weren't sure, how the country was going to be like, concerns about economy and stuff like that, which holds true to this day because right now the economically Turkey's not doing so well. Yeah. It was better back then.
And you had no problems with a visa going from Turkey to...
No, not at that time because I had a purpose. I had college.
And you went straight then into engineering in America?
Well, I did. And it was more like exploratory. The first term I wanted to see where I stand. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like I wasn't committed fully. Okay. Because again, I'm 17, 18. Yeah. I'm moving over.
What did you start with?
Just like your basic English writing class, and your basic math and physics classes, which, when I first went and they wanted to assess my math level. Mm-hmm. So level in which where do you know algebra? What do you know? Mm-hmm. And I passed it with flying colors, and they were like, okay, we can start you from any class you want. And I did start from for the college the most advanced course I could start on. So that was calculus. I started with calculus, and that was no problem at all, and that was okay. But again, the writing and stuff like that. I mean, I was in a system where we were answering multiple choice questions. That was like the Turkish system, right? Okay. There wasn't much writing even in Turkish. So today I wouldn't be able to write in Turkish.
Did you have English going to America?
Yeah, I did, but that was my own learning. Yeah. So that was my own kind of effort.
And in your family home you would have talked Turkish?
Yeah.
All growing up?
Yeah.
And so you, on your own back,
exactly,
learned a bit of English, went to America on your own at 17, and tried to make it for yourself in America. Man, where did you stay?
So, interesting story. I can talk about all my memories over there for an hour if you wanted to, but I had nowhere to go basically because I was, at that time, I felt like I could do anything. And I told my father, I was like, oh, look, I'm going to find myself a place, which I did, but it was so difficult because getting off the plane, I got off the plane, no accommodation.
You're crazy.
Yeah,
just so you know that.
So I met somebody on an airplane. going to the same place that I was going, so Santa Barbara, California, and I ended up getting a lift from him, and he took me there, and then he dropped me off in the city center. I have 2 suitcases and 1 backpack, and I'm trying to figure out where college students stay. Asking around, and I finally found the place. Took a bus, and this is all new to me, like adrenaline, like at that moment, like I can't describe it to you. Like I have concern for myself because I have all my belongings, but I'm in a new country. I'm like wide-eyed, and it's like crazy colors, everything. Like people probably see like a bus door. For me, that's a magical door, Like I see a weird looking skater dude, and for me, he's like a movie character, Like it's crazy, right? Anyway, keep in mind, I'm coming from a small town in Turkey.
That's what I'm bearing.
Right. So I take the bus. I go to the college central. And next thing I do is I knock on the doors. And I ask them, hey, I'm from Turkey. Do you have a place that you can rent to me? And they go, no. So this is what I do for the whole evening. Or not evening, afternoon, toward the evening. And it took me like 3.5 hours. And finally, I met somebody. And they said, oh, look, we don't have a place for you, but maybe across the street they do.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I grew up like quite isolated. I did rowing, I did sports, but I'd never seen marijuana before. So, like, I knocked on one of their doors, and they said, come in. And I thought they would, like, open the door for me and let me in. I go inside, and next thing I see 3 teenagers just like smoking weed and having fun. And I was shocked because it took me a while to figure out what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, college, Anyway, so I ended up making it to the house that I was supposed to move into, and the dude opened the door. He said, oh yeah, we got a place. And I was like, perfect, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, by the way, my suitcases, I left it somewhere. So,
man, you stash your suitcases.
Yeah.
Just walking around Santa Barbara.
Yeah. Anyway, I go back, pick up my suitcases, come back. It's dark by now, and I enter the house. It's a big house.
Yeah.
I'm on the first floor, and the dude who said I could stay lent me an air mattress.
Yeah.
Slept on it. Because I'm so tired, adrenaline wore off, and I woke up in the morning. I asked him, oh, where can I get water? He goes, upstairs, kitchen. So I go upstairs, and next thing I know, there's an L-shaped couch, and 10 people are sitting. And I look at them, they look at me, they're like, who are you? And I go, I moved here. And they went, no, you didn't. I'm like, excuse me? And they went, well, we didn't say you could move in. And I go, well, this guy said I could. And I ended up like talking to them, and they were like, we don't even know where you're from, and we don't know if you're legal and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I'm an international student. Please check it with the school. And anyway, so they ended up going and checking with the school that if I could stay and all that stuff, which was weird. But anyway, I ended up signing a contract, like a sublet.
Yeah.
And I stayed there with those kids. But it was a horrible house. It was they had like 15 kids. One of them stayed in a garage, and we had 5 rooms, so 3 people stayed in each.
That's disgusting.
It was disgusting, and not only that, the things I've seen. It was a fast introduction to college life, like maximum. It was uncensored. Anyway, so
I assume like the people you're rooming with, they're going about their college life as if you don't exist. They're bringing people back.
Oh no, people like parties every night. We had 3 kegs coming in every other day. Music all the time. The only positive thing was that two of the kids who stayed with me, they were surfers, and they took me to the beach multiple times. That was really nice and refreshing. But coming back home, alcohol bottles everywhere, drugs, hard drugs, like everything, like the first day I moved in, two of my roommates were on acid, which I didn't know at that time. They told me the day after. They're like, "Oh, I don't remember, but I vaguely remember I was on acid," and I go, "Oh, okay, what is that?" And they explained it to me. Like, I don't know anything really. So it was crazy, so that air mattress ended up being really shitty. It ended up deflating every night, and I would wake up with back pain. I would be cold, so I ended up choosing the couch upstairs in the living room because I was like, I can't go to sleep till 2 a.m. anyway because of the party, and when I can go to sleep is a time where everybody leaves the house. So anyway, a few nights I woke up on the couch and I had this random person laying on the other couch. And we would wake up and I'm like, "Who is this dude?" And he goes, "Oh, sorry, I fell asleep here." It was that kind of a house. He would wake up, people would wake up and leave the house and stuff like that. Bunch of dirty stuff everywhere, like dishes. People would throw up here and there, and it was disgusting.
Can I just tell you, that's almost the epitome of my nightmare.
Yeah, it was horrible.
And
but
how long did you stay there for?
A month and a half.
Oh, what? And
I had to move out because it was getting too much. People were some of them were like really addicted to hard drugs, and they were getting problematic.
Okay.
They were like destructive, horrible, aggressive toward everyone. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do. I can't be here.
As a young person, only in the country, did you now think this is what America must be like? This is what all the college colleges.
No, because we had some reasonable people coming in. And they're like, some nice people who said, "Look, Tolga, this is not how we are." Like, they were trying to explain it to me, and I was like, "Don't worry, this. I understand. They're young." And I had the maturity at that time. I don't know how, but I understood that this wasn't the case. And then I moved out. Nobody would rent a house to me because I didn't have my parents with me. So they're like,
"Oh, you're a minor."
Yeah. Well, they said you have to be sublet, or you have to get a co-signer. Otherwise, we don't know, like, if you can't afford it or you will be able to stay. So I go, "Well, what do I do?" They go, "Well, get your mom and dad." I'm like, "Mom and dad not here." So they go, "Well, we can't rent anything to you." So I kept looking, couldn't find anything. Ended up finding some family on Craigslist temporarily. So I moved in with a Mexican family who were about to move to Arizona.
Yeah.
So I had 18 days with them. It was awesome because they would make Mexican dishes, and I would enjoy it. I had zero privacy, but I didn't mind because, like, I was literally in the middle of their house. Their kid would open the door and play with his toys, like the cars and stuff like that. I didn't mind at all because I was there to just go to school.
They moved 100 times better than the last time.
100 million times better. I moved out because they were moving out from the house. Ended up going to a hostel. I stayed in a hostel. That wasn't easy because it's been like 3 months by that time, and I was living out of my suitcase still. I had my money like with me, like tied to me every night, because the type of people who would go in and out of hostel, they weren't so reassuring.
Savory, yeah.
Like 9 people in one room, like you wouldn't know what kind of, like, by that time I would know what kind of people were dangerous, because I saw multiple different type of people. Like, I knew what drugs were. Like, I got a fast crash course about everything. Yeah, you did. So I would get up in the morning, go to school, come back, just sleep there, and then study, at the library or something like that. I finally met a few people from my classes. By that time, my mom and dad and my brother visited me in Miami, though. So they were like, "Oh, we're going to Miami. Why don't you meet us?" So I went over, met them, we hung out, and my mom asked me. I can't lie when they ask me questions. So I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, I'm staying at this place, and they were like kind of disappointed. They said, oh, we didn't know. You should have told us before. Anyway, my mom took a plane, came to California, helped me get sorted, because people were renting apartments to me now.
Because she could have signed. She
Yeah,
signed you then.
and now from then on, it was expensive. I told my mom, I was like, I would have done it on my own, which I wouldn't be able to sign a lease anyway. But she signed me. She got me started, and then I met my right next door neighbors, which were my classmates, and then I moved in with them after, like 5 months after, which I shared a room. Yeah, it was ideal. And then after that, I actually learned everything on my own, like how to pay bills, how to take care of yourself, getting a car, license, everything. I did it on my own after that, and that prepared me for everything, really.
Well, like that's what I was about to touch on. That is that you did in about, let's say, under 6 months what some people don't learn in 6 years, and that's a mark of your personality, because no one, very, very few people would be able to handle that. That's wild.
What I think my biggest success was, not to my own horn, but like not getting into drugs. That was, looking back on it, I'm like, if I got into drugs, I would have been lost.
Stuck there, like.
Yeah, 100%. Because
So you never tried anything that was
no,
wrong,
I did not, because
Were you drinking?
I did drink, because that was the only way to get socialized and stuff like that. And people would be like playing party games and stuff like that. But hard drugs, drug dealers in my house and stuff like that. If I got into it, I think I would have been a different person. And I didn't feel secure at that time, like living out of my suitcase and everything. I didn't want to do anything, really. I was like, I'm staying away from this.
Like, what's Turkey's drinking laws?
18, but it's not enforced.
Okay.
So
it wasn't that you were coming from a super suppressed culture, and being like, oh.
We would have like wine on dinner table. Like I had my first drink when I was 11, 12. Permitted by my parents.
Like Greek culture.
Yeah,
Greek
very very similar Mediterranean type.
Wow, man, that's nuts. I'm just trying to figure out where to go from here, because I've got 100 questions for what it would have been like through that period. But so did you? Okay, yeah. One of the questions that's sticking in the back of my mind: did you bring cash with you?
Yes, I did.
So you had no bank card.
No,
all the money
nothing.
That you were using
So that was
those whole
really that was the thing.
What were you using to strap it there?
So I had this wallet, and also I had this like rectangular shaped pouch where I could put that inside my wallet inside, and that had clips clipped onto me, and I would wear my t-shirt over so it would look like and then when I moved into my house, what I did was like I would carry that with me for the first week, but then finally I ended up getting a bank account and depositing my money there. But like it took me a while. For the first month I didn't have a cell phone, and back then
what?
Yeah,
man, you're crazy.
2011, 2010, 2011, and back then like iPhones and stuff, they were like iPhone 3 and so I didn't have a phone, so I didn't talk to my parents for a month. I used a paid phone thing when I first arrived to let them know that I was there, but I didn't have a cell phone because they asked me for like to set up a plan you needed to have certain things, an ID, everything. So it was a whole process, and I said, well, I'll wait. So I didn't have a cell phone. The first time I had my cell phone was right around the time where I got really sick. I was like febrile, I was not feeling well, and my parents called me as if like they felt. They called me, and I suppose I didn't sound so well. My mom was like, look, you're gonna go and we're gonna get you a computer, and you're gonna open up a Skype, and we're gonna chat.
Okay.
So my mom orders a laptop. She says, "There's a Best Buy around you. Go pick it up." So I'm like febrile, like I'm 39 degrees Celsius. Walking. I have fever. Sorry, I'm feverish.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like not feeling well at all. And that was around the time where people left for Thanksgiving. So there was no one in the house. They left the first house that I moved into. They left and they turned off the heat. So because they were thinking that nobody would be home. So I was cold. At on top of that, I was like sick. I walked to Best Buy, picked up my computer, installed Skype, called mom, and they were like, "Oh my goodness, you're so sick. What's going on?" They figured it out, you know, and my mom was like, "Do this, do that, soup, everything." So they helped me out. And that was the first time I actually saw them over the internet.
And that was 3 months in?
No, I think that was like, again, toward the end of when I decided that I was going to move out. So for a month and a half, I think. Yeah, it's been 9 years now, but like it was that time, like I decided that I was going to move out because I'm like, this is not a good place to be. Like I got ill and I felt so weak, you know? Yeah, and I didn't say like, oh, I need to go back to my home country. No, that wasn't an option for me. You know, I was like, no, I'm not gonna let this.
Quitting? Would you have thought that was quitting?
Yeah, because like, first of all, like my family, you know, wants to see me do well, and plus, it's like it hasn't been that long. I can't quit. You know, I haven't seen everything. I always have that mentality. You know, you can't judge things by how it starts, or you know, you have to stick out till the end. Like the movies, you know, sometimes movies, if you wait till the end, you'll have an ending where you're like, oh my goodness, that was crazy. But if you quit halfway through, you're like, oh, that movie sucked. So I mean, if you start something, you better finish
it. And so when you're like, so how many years did you spend there? So first of all, are you trying to go to college while you're still living in that part of
Yeah.
You're actually attending lectures.
I was.
You're not sleeping properly.
No.
Probably not eating properly.
It was horrible.
You're dragging yourself to lectures.
Yeah.
You're conscious of your money.
Yeah.
You're conscious of all your belongings.
Yeah.
You're probably sneaking into the bathroom to take out cash if you need it, so no one sees where all your money
Right.
is.
That was really difficult. Like I felt, I don't know, just I guess back then it was all an adventure for me. Like it didn't register me as too much hardship, you know. Because I was so young.
A lot of adrenaline at the beginning.
It was
all new.
It was all new. Yeah, it was like, you know, it's an adventure. It's a movie, you know, and
then you realize, okay, it's not a movie. This is just hell.
Yeah, because the moment, like one of the memories that I had, one of the rich kids, his name was Alex, and he was Swiss, and he moved like when he was younger. He was very rich, so. One day, I think they did speed or something like that. They got really high, and this kid got aggressive and grabbed our mini fridge off the cliff. We were by the cliff in Santa Barbara. Off the cliff, and everybody was like, "Whoa, what did you do?" And he goes, "Don't worry, guys. My dad will buy a new one." And I was like, this is not the type of person that I would associate with. This is so bad, you know. They're reckless. We had holes in the walls, like literal holes, because they would get so drunk and mad and they would punch, you know. Anyway, so I moved out, settled, and after that it was much better, you know, because like it was chaotic. It was really chaotic, and it didn't give me a good impression. But I suppose
but it gave you a good education.
Yeah, good education, great education.
You would never learn that in the classroom.
No, yeah, exactly. So it's a life lesson, I suppose.
So how many years did you spend in Santa Barbara?
Year and a half or 2 years. Then I transferred to Ohio State in Columbus. Yeah.
Ohio State, is that kind of prestigious?
Yeah, it is. It is.
They recognize you had brains
for engineering. Yeah. It was great. You know, it's one of the best aerospace engineering programs. But again, you know, so going to the US, I actually had a scholarship for Oregon State. But then I didn't pick it because I was like, oh, it's going to be rainy. I'm not going to go to somewhere that is rainy. Well, look at me now. I'm in Ireland. But I had a scholarship. I should have taken that, I think, because I would have finished sooner. It was biomechanical engineering. And then I didn't pick that, so I went to California. But it was getting expensive as well because California is really expensive.
And so how many years did you spend in Ohio?
Oh, man. 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
It's amazing you've got such a strong American twang in your voice.
Yeah.
Saying that you spent the majority of your life in Turkey.
Yeah.
You lived in America for a handful of years, and now you're in Ireland.
That's when you learn a language and you learn it through talking and listening. You just end up.
It comes with it.
Yeah.
And so you finished the. What course were you doing in Ohio?
I was doing engineering, and then
That's the one you.
Yeah, and then I right there I transferred to biology because my engineering again comes back to purpose. I wasn't enjoying my engineering classes, and my grades were going down.
Okay.
And I said I can't do this.
As you transferred to biology.
Yeah,
and that you stayed within Origin.
Yeah.
Within Ohio.
Yeah. So I told myself, look, I can't do this. I didn't want to show up to the lectures. I didn't want to do anything. I wasn't stupid or anything like that, but like
it wasn't your interest.
It wasn't my interest, and I didn't want to show up. I actually ended up not taking a midterm, and that was it for me. Like I was like feeling so uninterested, and but for me the turning point was like when I realized that I wanted to go into medicine. I got this new sense of purpose, and that felt really good. And after that, rest is history, I suppose.
And then, why Ireland?
Why Ireland? So it's a perfect midpoint between Turkey and US.
Yeah.
And at that time, I felt like I could travel, which I did. I took advantage of that. I traveled to Turkey multiple times during the year, like for a weekend trip. That was really good, just to be able to see my family. Like when I first started this course, at that time I needed to be closer to my family for a variety of reasons, and I wanted to travel easily, and for US as well. So, but right now, due to the restrictions, I can't travel anywhere. But I did take advantage of it for years.
And so you're what? What age are you coming to Ireland? 22, 23?
Oh no, I'm 27 now. So I was 24.
Okay.
I was 24
and you applied for medicine in UCC.
Yeah.
And you're in your final year of that, so that's 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. So I'm in the graduate course, which is 4 years instead of 5.
Yeah, okay, you skipped a year.
So yeah, graduate course is 1 year shorter.
After that course now, what do you hope to do?
I am trying to get into my internship here, and after that we'll see what happens.
Because at the minute you're working in the hospital at the minute, or are you on placement?
I'm on placement and finishing in May. After that, internship starts in June, which you get hired by the HSE as an intern doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what department are you?
So
placement
I just finished my pediatrics rotation, and I'm doing what is called prep for practice, which is basically a bunch of simulations and lessons that, like prescriptions and all that stuff,
And so, as if your life wasn't difficult enough, you're also highly dedicated to bodybuilding, to physical health and wellness. And that's how I met you, was through the gym.
Right.
Because so I go to the college gym, as you know, and a lot of the college gym goers are kind of mediocre. Mediocre is a bit of an unfair word. They're starting, and it's a free gym. You get it once you pay your fees. And
right.
They're kind of you know what I mean. And so when a few freakishly big individuals are there, they stand out.
Right.
And you're one of those fellas. You're humongous. You're in fantastic shape.
Thank you.
Moving heavy weights. And so then on top of that, when I actually did start chatting to you, I found this side of you. This talkative, highly intelligent, energetic, enthusiastic person.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about when you started lifting, when you started health-wise.
So lifting started for me when I was like 14. I've always been into it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I've always been into it. But like I didn't properly sign up for a gym. I was doing rowing. I was actually doing rowing for a while, and I did a bunch of sports. Like I played basketball, volleyball, but I didn't start lifting until I was 14 because I was scared. Like if I start early, I would be shorter or something like
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you always hear those myths.
And is that a total myth?
Well,
Squatting stunts your growth, that kind of stuff. Anything that compresses your spine.
it all depends, right? The severity and how you do it. You know, there's no real evidence to show that unless you injure yourself. So at the end of your bones, you have those growth plates, and you can actually injure those during sports, which is unlikely, but that could stunt your growth.
Okay.
But unlikely that, you know, like how people say, oh, basketball will make you taller and stuff. No, not really. Any exercise will help you because it's going to increase like blood delivery. You know, you're going to be eating more, getting more nutrients, and that'll cause an effect in your body. But like, it's not going to, you know, you can't get somebody. Our height is mainly determined by genetics. So you can add 10%, which can be a lot. Like, let's say you are, you know, you're going to be 1.8 meters tall. 10% of it is 18 centimeters. That's a lot, yeah. But that's when you add nutrition, train, everything together, environment, stress. So there's a lot of moving things happening. So I started when I was 14, and I was so enthusiastic. I still am. I still like
the whole way through. So
yeah, I mean, I had to quit, like not quit, but lifting took a back step, you know, in my college life sometimes because I was on the track team. So like I did track, sprinting, So we did lifts, but it was more athletic, and when I was doing rowing again, it just took a back step, and it was like not the priority. And then one time I injured myself. I had to rehab myself for 6 months. I did join a swimming team.
what happened? What was your injury?
My injury was I was doing T-bar rows, and this was like, so I was on the track team. I was training a lot, and on top of that, I wanted to improve my body. So I went to the gym as an extra session. So imagine like track training in the morning, and then weightlifting, and then a second weightlifting session. I didn't realize I was overtraining, and then one day, like when I was doing T-bar rows, my lower back was like, gone, and I was like, whoa, what's happening? I felt really weak. Got MRIs, a bunch of things, and they told me that I needed to take a break. If I knew what I knew now, I would just do a basic rehab and get back to lifting. But I took 6 months off completely, learned swimming. Well, I knew how to swim, but I actually signed up to a swimming club, and that was great. That really helped me with the lung capacity and everything. But that was the time I took 6 months off completely. Other than that, I just kept training throughout, and it didn't get too serious until 5 years ago, when I started competing, and then I actually dig in deeper for like dieting and you know, training, you know, optimizing training and dieting and lifestyle, because before that it was all about like lifting better, you know, looking better, but it wasn't necessarily for a goal. In college, lifting was great because it helped me connect with a lot of people. Being from somewhere else, you could speak the language of fitness or bodybuilding.
It gave you common interest.
Humongous like advantage for me to be able to connect with people. I could just basically say to my dorm mate, say, hey, do you want to go to the gym, have a session? And that was a great kind of icebreaker. I met one of my best friends in the gym, you know, just like shooting the shit, you know, talking and chatting. So yeah, lifting was great, and I've been doing it more seriously in the last few years. Although I am not competing, I haven't been competing in the last 2 years, but for me, it's still important.
So tell me, what competitions have you won?
So in Ireland, I did win the nationals in 2017.
What category?
Men's physique. And then in 2018, I won the European Championships for Ireland, like representing this country. And that was really good. That was my first year of medical school.
That's so embarrassing for our Irish bodybuilding representative. He's a Turkey-born native from America that hammered all the Irish fellas on stage.
Well, it's a small country.
It's the shadow skin, man. Your muscles look better in the shadow skin. It's because we don't get enough sun. That's what it is.
Is that it? I don't know. Maybe, or maybe like distractions. People get distracted with college and
everything. You're uniquely motivated. You have a freakish work ethic that is incredibly rare.
So talking about like that for the first year of college, right? For me, it was like lifting, eating, going to college, and it was quite difficult because during the first year of graduate entry course, you have the weed out courses, like really basic science heavy courses where you have to like study a lot, and it got really difficult while I was going sub 7%, 6% body fat and still trying to focus in class, where 2 weeks out, I think I was on a treadmill reading a book while dieting, and my face was sunken, and I remember it distinctly where I'm like, there's no other way, like there was no other way to fit in studying and training at the same time. And I had to go, I tried all kinds of diets. I had to try keto, I had to try just protein, this, that. Like I tried everything just to be able to manipulate for, because I didn't have the lifestyle, I had to go to college. So maybe I couldn't do the extra cardio session. I had to miss one session here or there, and I had to compensate for it. And that was really tough. And I remembered this. I depleted myself. So I did my whole prep was me. I never had a coach. So I prepped myself. I depleted my carbs, as you do, because I was going to load to look better, certain protocol. And this is all like art at this point, because there's no distinct, like there's no science on it, You just, there is some science, but it's also depending on the individual. How do you react, how do you respond? So you need to know yourself well. So it was before my finals, and the stress of, a new country, you have to do well on your exams, there's a lot at stake, and people are always, they tend to help themselves with like food. That's a crutch, stress eating. And I couldn't do that, right? So whenever I wanted to stress eat, this is what I did: Tabata workout. So the Tabata 10 rounds of HIIT sessions. So I would get off I would be like, look, if I'm like sweating heavily and breathing heavily, I'm not going to think about food. So instead of thinking about food, every time I thought about food, I would do a Tabata workout.
You torture yourself instead.
Yeah, I would go up and down the steps or just do half squat jumps and everything so that I could keep myself busy.
But would that not make you more hungry once you caught your breath?
No, because, more fat burning would kick in and help me out, and I would like distract myself with water and stuff like that.
And now you're sitting at what, 6% at this stage?
Yeah, I was.
And you're trying to get down or more?
Down more, because get that last bit so I could look better on stage. Again, competitions are not healthy at all. I don't recommend it to anyone for like being healthy. I don't think it's healthy at all. So like I remember like being on the bus right after my finals. I was traveling to Spain for the Europeans, and I was like so tired because I pulled an all-nighter just to study. So tired, what I did was I told myself, like, I don't care about anything right now, like common sense. Like people would sit on the bus, and like care about other people. Look how do I look, Am I embarrassing myself? I didn't care. I just actually put my backpack laid where you put your feet. And I said, I'm going to take a nap because otherwise, I know the physiology, I'm going to be too stressed out. I'll have high cortisol and I'm going to hold water. And I want to look good for my competition because I've been prepping for 3 months. So I'm going to sleep wherever I can. I'm going to lift my feet up, make sure I'm not holding water.
Did you crawl under the seats?
Under the seats. Traveling to Dublin, from Dublin, you know, like in Dublin airport, because I arrived there at 3 a.m. I put all my clothes on the floor so that it's not cold. I just slept there for a bit. I did everything I could just to get some rest. I traveled to Spain. This is a crazy story for me because I wanted to meet up with my family, so I arranged them to come over to Spain, and I rented a car. And all my teammates, they actually were in a bus, and they were traveling to the place where we were going, Santa Susana, and we were in Barcelona, so they would travel together in a bus. And I rented my own car. And I picked up the car, and I'm driving. My Vodafone phone stopped working. So no Google Maps. So I'm trying to find it, and there's check-ins, right? I'm going to miss the check-ins. If I don't make it on time, I'm not going to be able to compete. So I'm driving, I'm trying to see the signs, the Santa Susana. Turns out it's a small town. It doesn't appear. The signs don't appear until you get close to it. I'm actually driving to the opposite direction, I found out 30 minutes later. And that, because how I found out was I ended up stopping at a gas station because I'm like, this is not showing up. My phone is not working. I connected to Wi-Fi on my cell phone, and one of my teammates called me. Tolga, where the are you? Where are you, man? We're checking in. If you don't make it, you're not going to compete. I'm like, oh, I don't know where I am, but please, like, do something. Make sure that I'm not going to miss the check-in. At this point, I'm depleted, sleep deprived, just done. And I was gonna throw the towel. I ended up like actually doing something bad, which ended up being good. I went to the gas station, picked up 5 donuts and a big chocolate milkshake. I said, fuck this, I'm just gonna eat it. I ate all of it and probably consumed like around 3,000 calories in one meal. Just junk food, just carbohydrates. And I have 2 days till my competition because I'm thinking I missed everything, right? Turns out I went into the gas station. I'm talking to everyone, picking up maps, like showing the city, and they're like, we don't know, like we can't talk to each other because I don't know Spanish, they don't know English. So I ended up getting it on Google Maps, downloaded the maps, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna trust this. And turns out I'm on the wrong direction, in the wrong direction, and I drove back really fast, going through the cities and everything. I'm like, I hope this is the right kind of highway. Ended up making there, like it was 30 minutes till they closed the registration. They were like, where the fuck are you? I'm like, I'm so sorry. People were bitching at me because they didn't know. Usually here, you know, people have coaches and everything, and coaches will communicate with the federation. I had no one to communicate with. So I checked in. Next thing you know, that night, I am holding so much water. My stomach is bloated. I've done wrong because I planned my whole like loading thing, you know, rice, pineapple, salt, water, everything is planned out right. This is at this point damage control. So I did the damage control, extra cardio, mobilize and everything. Next morning I look worse. People are like, my roommate was like, dude, you look like shit. You look horrible. You're holding water, man. It's horrible. I'm like, trust me, I'll fix it. So I did some tricks, water loading, all that stuff. I did it all. And then I trusted myself and slightly adjusted my protocol. The day of competition, water was gone. I was feeling much better because exams were past me. Nothing was going to stress me out. You know, I made it, you know. I was thinking that I wasn't going to make it. So for me, I made it. It's okay. And I let go. And I told myself, this is what you can do. Try to do what you can do right now. Don't worry about what happened or what's gonna happen. Just focus on what you can do and execute that. So I was carrying my scale everywhere, measuring my salt. Other competitors were like, "Don't eat salt." I'm like, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing." So it worked for me because you need salt, you need carbohydrates while you're loading. People avoid it, but they don't know that our bodies need to hold on to sodium for a lot of purposes, and sodium helps you shuttle glucose into the cells. Mm-hmm. You don't want to overdo it, but you don't want to not take it because you have hormones to balance out the salt. Military did a study where they cut out like salt from soldiers' diets, mm-hmm. and their sodium levels were stable in their serum, which is your blood. Mm-hmm. You have hormones to prevent that. You have aldosterone. You have other hormones.
So even if you try to manipulate it, your body goes, no.
Yeah, exactly. And where if you do that, your body flips on you. Also, you're not getting the salts, like it lowers stress. When you cut out salt, it's a stress on your body. Your cortisol goes up. So it'll backfire. Human physiology is so delicate, and you cannot manipulate it to that extent where I'm going to cut out the salt and I'm going to be dry. It doesn't happen. There's so many other factors you have to consider. So that I did exactly what I needed to do, and it worked. I was fuller. I could have been fuller, but since I had the donuts 2 days prior, I was like, I'm going to be erring on the side of caution. I have to be very careful. So I did compete and ended up placing well, and that was great. So yeah, that's my story about the competitions.
You didn't just place, you won it.
I won it, yeah. So that was great. And for my family too, because they didn't understand what I was doing. I had 12 liters of water the night before, and my stomach was like a drum. I was drinking.
You got drowned after 4.
Yeah, well, it was horrible because I was going to the bathroom. Again, the mechanism behind it is, I'll tell you briefly. You have a hormone called vasopressin, which is also called ADH. So it's anti-diuretic hormone. So anti-diuretic hormone, as the name suggests, it helps you with diuresis, which is peeing out, right? It helps you retain water. Mm-hmm. When you drink a bunch of water, your body makes less of that hormone, so you can diurese, pee out the water, right? So what you do is that you drink a bunch of water loading, and then you have low levels of ADH. Once you cut it, you still have higher levels of ADH. You still pee it out, so that, subepidermal water, underneath your skin kind of, you're hoping that you can drain that water off, which helps in certain cases.
But that's like fighters cutting weight and using the water manipulation to just get that last little bit out.
I don't know if that's what they do, because I know a lot of times they just try to sweat out, sweat themselves out, so they deplete themselves, where we are loading water, hoping that you can push the water off your body and manage that excess sodium and stuff like that. Because when you're drinking a lot of water, that means you're not taking in sodium. So if you have excess, you have to be very careful though. If you're doing this and not taking in any sodium, then you can flush out all the sodium from your body, and you can actually be more wiry, Like a lot of competitors backstage, they complain about not getting the pump.
Yeah.
They're I'm trying, I'm not getting any pump.
There's no sodium.
There's no sodium. There's nothing to shuttle glucose into the muscle. So that's the problem. And also sodium and potassium is required for proper nerve function and muscle function. Again, don't avoid salt. Salt is important. Don't overdo it, but don't avoid it. Especially if you're a regular gym goer. You're going to the gym all the time. Don't avoid it. Take in your salt with your carbohydrates. It'll help you. If you're going to the gym and even though you've been eating and everything, you feel tired, within 30 minutes, 20 minutes, that is sodium. That is electrolytes. That's not glycogen. You don't run out of glycogen that quickly. If it's after an hour and a half, that it could be glycogen, but first 20 minutes, that's something else. Either sleep or you're fatigued or something.
Is there a dangerous amount of water to consume?
Yes, of course.
And 12 litres sounds past that level.
But I was active. I was walking around. This was over a 24-hour period.
When is it dangerous? So?
Depends on the person. It could be, if you go over like 4 liters, for some people can be dangerous. And, if you don't pee, if you hold it in and stuff like that.
And what happens is
again,
it dilutes your blood too much.
Well, the complex physiology, but at the end of the day, it can cause edema in your brain and stuff like that. It's not good. But again, think about this. An athlete in one session can lose about 2,000 milligrams of sodium from their sweat and exercise. Recommended daily allowance of sodium is 2,300 milligrams. That is how much they would lose in one session. Again, we can't make broad generalizations of like these recommended daily amounts to everyone, especially athletes, which are different type of people. They're different, They because of that, requirements change, and they can change massively. I was consuming upwards of 20 grams of salt a day.
Whoa.
And my blood pressure was just fine. No problems whatsoever.
Is it similar to what they did with fat, where they demonize fat as a
exactly
product?
We can talk a lot about that. Can I just
Yeah,
I'll be right back.
Oh, there's no panic there at all, man. Take your absolute time. I want to check
So yeah, again, like you said, the demonization of fats as well. It's the same thing. Well, again, type of fats. It matters.
Trans fat.
Saturated fat. So if you look at American Journal of Cardiologists this year in July, I believe they came out with an article saying that we should revise our recommendations on saturated fat intake because they did not find convincing evidence to show saturated fat causing heart disease. So this is big, right?
Well, this ties in just as well, so people are aware that there was a scandal in which the sugar industry paid off medical journals to demonize fat. And this is going back years. And
exactly.
The psychological damage
exactly.
that's left is that people believe fats are evil.
Well, they still do. It's widely accepted, and even in medical practice right now. But like new evidence come in and showing that they're actually false, because saturated fats occur naturally in human diets.
And even on top of that, like there's like a lot of bodybuilders, some of the best physiques are fat based, and they run on fat. Fat is their energy source.
Exactly. If you look at
the classic bodybuilders, Arnold, all his era, they didn't have huge amounts of carbs. They weren't stuffing their face with whole grains. They were just running on fats.
Again, fats are required for a lot of things. So human body cannot live without fats, but you can live without carbs. Your body makes its own glucose, the amount that you need for yourself through your liver's gluconeogenesis. So meaning that you make new glucose out of other molecules. You can do that, which I did. I was fasting for a whole week, and I still had glucose in my blood.
I'm going to come back to that.
Yes, but like fats, for example, they're so important. They're so important, and that's what we miss in bodybuilding diets as well. When people diet, especially females, unfortunately, there have to be on very low calorie diets for bikini competitions, and the first thing that goes out is usually fats. They lower their fats to an unhealthy amount where it's to the point where their bodies cannot make its own hormones, because a lot of hormones are fat based and causes a lot of imbalances. Also, there's fat soluble vitamins, and when you don't consume fat in your diet, those vitamins don't get absorbed. That's a problem. So again,
where does the body get the source for the glucose when it makes it itself?
Oh, many. So there's gluconeogenesis, right? Some amino acids can be converted into glucose. When you break down fat, what you get is four things, right? Three 3 fatty acids and 1 glycerol, which is the backbone where the fatty acid is attached to.
the glycerol.
So the glycerol can become glucose, can be converted into glucose. Fatty acids cannot. They need to be converted into ketones. So that's another energy source for your body. Glycerol, again, your body can make glucose from amino acids and glycerol and other molecules. So for example, you're dieting down, you're breaking down tissue. Whatever you get from the tissue, you can convert it into glucose. You can make it.
So when you ingest fat, it doesn't just go straight into fat storage.
No, it's absolutely not.
It's digested, it's stripped into its components.
Right.
And then at what stage then does your body go, okay, we have enough carbohydrates coming in to provide glucose, we're going to put this into fat
So
storage.
this is a hormone these are hormone based processes. So your body knows there's a balance in your body that knows if you are in energy surplus or energy deficit, which happens many times throughout the day. So unlike what people say, oh, I'm in an energy surplus or I'm in an energy deficit. Let's say you're dieting right now and I gave you 1,000 calories. You would assume that you're in energy deficit, right? But the moment you're eating that meal, you're in energy surplus. So at that moment, your body is like, okay, what am I going to do with this food? All these nutrients coming in turns on certain signaling molecules in your body, and your body's like, okay, I got these amino acids coming in, I got these carbohydrates coming in, fatty acids, all of that, and it's anabolic actually. At that moment you're anabolic, even though you're losing fat for the 24-hour period. At that moment you're anabolic, so you're doing anabolic things, storing glycogen in your liver, in your muscle. You're building, you're repairing cells. So that's what it is. It's a hormone sensitive process. So insulin is anabolic. Whenever you spike your insulin, your body has to build. So that's why a lot of times you hear bodybuilders cutting out carbs. You're lowering your insulin. You're signaling your body that you don't want to build. You're going catabolic. You're catabolizing your fat tissue. So
that's the thing as well, is that people, myself included, used to, when I was moving into getting in lifting and bodybuilding and everything associated with it, your body clock actually works completely different to what we think, because we're trained to think in 24-hour periods and all the rest of it, so that whatever food you eat today relates to today, and that you're basing your calorie expenditure or storage on that sort of 24-hour period. But your body clock works on a way different scale to what we understand. And so what you're saying there is that the control panel for what happens with the food that comes in is almost like checked in on an hourly basis or on a situation.
Minutes.
And it's
minute by minute.
And so it's constantly recalibrating depending on
exactly.
Yeah.
And what happens when people get metabolic disease like obesity and stuff like that, this balance is tipped. Even though they have so much energy on their body, adipose tissue, which is the fat tissue in their body is starving and doesn't know what's going on. It's like you have these let's say socks, right? You have these socks and you hide it somewhere in a wardrobe, and you don't know, you forgot about it, but you do have it, and you're like, where's my sock, you can't find it, and you go get a new one. Same thing with obesity. They store it, but their bodies don't have access to it. They're metabolically not sensitive anymore. It's forgotten.
And why is that? It's years of incorrect eating or incorrect food choices, overfeeding. Can you correct that with hormone therapy of a sore?
Yeah, you can. It's a diet and exercise.
Okay, so that's
you're
regulating the hormones.
You're regulating your hormones yourself.
Is there people then who are genetically predisposed to obesity?
Yes and no. I mean, there are people who are they have lower metabolisms and stuff like that for unknown reasons. So
and is that as frequent as people would like it to be?
No.
Because that's a big one. People always, man, it's one of the things that wrecks my head. And people are like, oh boy, I have a real slow metabolism, or I have a really fast metabolism, that's why I'm struggling to put on weight. I always in the back of my head, I have to be just like, yeah, you're not putting on weight.
Well, the thing is, human body is
training like a pussy, and you're not calculating things correctly, and you're using that as an excuse because you don't have the dedication. But outside, I'm like, oh yeah, man, geez, fast metabolism, I hate that.
So the thing is with that, everybody has a different fat set point.
Mm-hmm.
So you're comfortable sitting around, your body regulates itself, right? Comfortably at certain body fat level. It could be different for a lot of people. And there's a lot of evidence to show that if you are growing up like overweight as a kid, it tends to be harder for you to lose weight as an adult, because again, as we know, fat cells don't decrease in number, it decreases in size. So as a young child, as a kid, if you build up a lot of fat cells,
that fat's there the whole time.
It's forever. So it's going to be harder for you to be able to lose it.
And harder in terms of the fact that the
because
fat
you
has
have
become a different type of solid fat, or because their psychological state is
it's because the feedback mechanism. So body had its own set point for like this many millions of cells, right? And you have more capacity to put on fat. So again, you can overfeed you, and we'll all stop gaining at a certain amount of weight, but some people don't. That's why you see some people like 300, 400, 500 pounds, and there's a genetic component of that. Not everybody will be able to get to 500 pounds. It's impossible. Even if you wanted to, I don't think you would be able to. There's a genetic component to that too. The amount of fat cells they can build is different. For example,
and can you break that?
Well, you can, but you cannot remove those fat cells. You can shrink them, or you can use liposuction or something like that. But the thing is, again, it seems though there's not a lot of strong evidence, but some evidence to show that childhood obesity does translate into later life obesity as well. So it's important what you eat when you're...
That could be a lifestyle thing. When you see overweight
but
children,
it's not because they're born with that.
The parents are feeding them horrendous material.
Easy examples like, I guess I'll call them primitive, but they're not so primitive, I suppose. Tribes, their rate of obesity is none. A lot of tribes, Yoruba, a lot of tribes in Amazon, Africa, those people.
But that's because of what they're eating.
Exactly. So even if they say, oh, there's some people with obesity, you would find those people over there as well. If that was exactly. And there seems to be none. And there's a lot of evidence to show that it's after the consumption of seed oils, which we can get into, but like seed oils do tend to signal people's bodies to gain more weight. There's a lot of mice studies that are overfeeding the rats with seed oils, and they induce like diabetes with that, heart disease, and all that stuff. And it happened after 1800. We started to use more seed oils, and that's your
rapeseed, your sunflower, your
corn, cottonseed, oil, and all that stuff. They have linoleic acid, which is omega-6, which is inflammatory.
Yeah, it's very life.
Unsaturated. So my thing is that I believe that unsaturated fats are not that good for you, because unsaturated fats are unstable. Saturated fats are more stable because their bonds are when they say unsaturated, that means they have an unsaturated hydrogen bond. And what happens is that they can get oxidized. So oxidized meaning somebody can donate an electron into that molecule, and that molecule, will be oxidized. So and the other molecule will be reduced, right? So
And sources then of unsaturated fat is.
like this.
I'm a moron, man. You're gonna have to explain this to me, like. 'Cause
Well, a lot
this
of
is-
things have unsaturated fat. A lot of your vegetable oils would have
Unsaturated fats.
because we have been demonizing saturated fats forever.
Yes. So the saturated fats are the one you say you actually need more of than the unsaturated fats.
Exactly,
And
they're more
sources-
stable to cook with because
The unsaturated fats then are the seed oils.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they change structure. They're easily oxidized.
Yeah.
They get oxidized.
And why is that a problem?
It's a problem because when they change their structure, when they get oxidized, they can form toxic intermediate compounds, which are not good in your body.
Okay.
And they tend to signal weight gain as well.
Okay.
Saturated fats are more stable. They tend to have higher smelt points as well.
Okay.
When you have a cooking oil and if it smokes easily, that's not a good oil to cook with.
Okay. Okay.
You know, it changes structure. You want a stable cooking oil to cook with.
Which would be
I prefer tallow. I prefer
olive oil.
olive oil. I prefer it with my salads. I don't cook with it. I cook with ghee, which is clarified butter. So basically, what they do is that they cook butter, they collect milk solids, and it becomes ghee. It's cooked in East Asian,
Where do you get that?
Southeast Asian cooking. You can make it at home.
You make your own ghee?
Yeah, fine. You can grab butter and just remove the milk solids, and it'll become ghee.
And so you put a butter into a pot.
Boil and I collect the milk solids, and it'll become ghee.
You boil it until it's boiled off,
No, it actually it sinks into the bottom.
and you just scoop it.
Yeah.
And you cook with that.
Yeah. So ghee, tallow. I cook with bone marrow, which I do a lot of broths.
Man, I'm sick. Right. I'm conscious of the cameras. This camera here is beginning. I can see the battery flashing at me.
We can charge it if you want.
We can charge it, yeah, and I can come back.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it takes to charge because I'm conscious now that I'm waiting. I'm trying to get replacement out. This camera's alright, so if this camera goes, I don't even care because this one is on me. Because you have we're only touching the iceberg here.
Yeah, well, I have a lot to talk about.
Oh man, you've so much to talk about, and it's beautiful. I'm just trying to pick and choose our topics in case that thing.
I can come back for an episode.
That's what I'm thinking. Is we're probably
Something
going to do a
like
second episode before we quit this one. Quickly go through your. I can't even say quickly, but you just did a week of fasting.
Yes, I did.
You did 1 week, no calories at all.
At all.
And you didn't die.
I did not die.
That's the first thing.
I wanted to go for 10 days. But I had to stop because it was inconvenient. It was just not the right time.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to do it again. Go for longer.
Why did you do it?
Why did I do it? So I had this idea, right? I was like, I haven't done fasting in a while because I prefer doing fasting like when I feel like it, when my mind is ready. And I was thinking about it, and I told myself, "Oh, I surely can't do it right now because, my placement is heavy. I have my clinical cases right now, and I wouldn't be able to focus." Then at that moment, I caught myself. You are missing the whole point. You're supposed to do it now. If it scares you, you should do it. So I told myself that this is the right time to do it. And I gave myself some goals. I said, don't be an asshole to anyone. Don't miss your, do your responsibilities that you're supposed to do and perform well on it. And don't, again, don't make excuses. So I gave myself this thing where you're going to act like a normal human being and you're not going to let anyone else outside of you tell that something's wrong with me. Mm-hmm. So if you interacted with me, I don't want you to know that I'm fasting or I am compromised in some way.
They were noble aims, man.
So I tried. And it was,
I'm a bull when I'm hungry.
So I was the same way years ago. I built up my tolerance to it, and don't get me wrong, it's still hard. I had day 3, day 4, day 5. I had really difficult times where I live alone, and I had the whole cupboard, foods, everything available. And you know what? I cut up a piece of a chocolate. Before I fasted, I was having half of it, and I forgot it open, right? Open, just right there, half of it. And I didn't even touch it during fasting because I'm like, if I touch it, if I have that kind of sensation after day 4, it's gone. So I looked at it every day. I'm like, that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm doing it. So
you weren't tortured enough.
So that was it. I went for a week, and I had difficult times where, like, I think day 5, I felt like my feet had cement blocks. It was just hard to walk, man. I felt it. It didn't happen, but I felt like my hamstrings were atrophying because I had no strength left. Like, I'm riding my bike to hospital every day, and it was twice as hard to be able to go up those hills. And sometimes you are like, oh, it's so easy to ride and stuff like that. But like, I was feeling sometimes the bike was too heavy. Like, I was lighter than the bike. Psychologically, it felt like that. The bike was in control of me, not the other way. Yeah. So it was like getting tough, but I kept going, and I did what I needed to do. And it was also to show people that they shouldn't be afraid of fasting, because like, I don't recommend a week to anyone.
Especially not an amateur.
Exactly. Or, I mean, you could do 3 days twice and get similar benefits.
What were the benefits you were going for?
There's a lot of benefits. Like, I can talk about fasting for a long time, but in the short, it is your... Think about it like this. You have a car, and you're driving it around all the time, and you never change the oil, and it gets gunky, and just it doesn't run.
It's like purge.
Exactly. But it's your body's own way of doing it. It knows how to do it because it's evolutionarily consistent. It's been built in you. You have genes that are specifically they're activated. So what your genes do, right? Your genes activate. They're translated. Right, they're transcripted, translated, and then the translated RNA helps you build proteins, and those proteins might do something in your body, have an effect, right? So those genes are activated while you're fasting because you are energy depleted, and you do certain things in your body like increasing growth hormone, autophagy, which is like eating. Your body's literally eating its own component for energy, but it's doing it in a way where it's picking old and non-functional parts of it.
Wow.
So that is the touted benefit of fasting. So autophagy happens like this. You have an organelle called lysosome. It lyses stuff, so digests it. It's like a vacuole. It mixes in with that organelle that you want to digest, like becomes a big glob, and it just digests everything. Like, think about like acid, it just digests everything into its own components, and those components are then recycled for future use. What it does is that instead of you chucking out the whole cell, you identify those components that are not working so well, and you make new ones. Instead of your cells dividing, every time your cells divide, your telomeres, which is the end of your DNA, it's like the buffer zone, gets shorter, shorter, shorter. That's aging, right?
Yeah.
You don't want many divisions in your body. You want less of them. So, in theory, being able to effectively manage your own cells for a longer time gives you less divisions.
Yeah.
Therefore, longer.
It's like anti-aging.
Exactly. So that's another benefit. Psychological benefit, it toughens you up, obviously. And physically, it improves insulin sensitivity. Okay. There's a lot of studies done about this. So a lot of people can benefit from it because we are constantly feeding our bodies, and our bodies are not as insulin sensitive. So you can increase your insulin sensitivity. That'll help you with nutrient partitioning. Like, have you noticed a lot of people when they're bulking bodybuilding, you eat so much and you get like sleepy. You get sleepy, and during the workout you get tired. More so than when you're cutting.
Yes.
Like in the middle of the workout, you feel like you need to eat.
Yes, I've experienced this.
You know why? Because you are not insulin sensitive anymore. You're not you're not partitioning those nutrients effectively. Even though you're in excess of calories, you have so much food in your body. Your fat is food. But you're not recognizing, you're slowly losing your insulin sensitivity. That's why I recommend people to sometimes do a cut in the middle of a bulk just to get it back. Because going out of a cut, you can tell that you're so sensitive to food. You're getting all vascular, you're getting better pumps. That's because you're so insulin sensitive at the end of your cut.
That's why they recommend a carb refill day if you're cutting.
Well, exactly.
The hormones again that are responsible for fat.
Yeah, exactly. Like fructose. Fructose is so good when you're dieting if you get a little bit, because
that's the sugar that's in fruit.
Sugar in fruit and additives in your food. So the high fructose corn syrup and stuff like that, it goes directly to your liver because in the enzymatic process, it lacks. In the enzymatic process, it lacks a certain enzyme that helps fructose convert it into another molecule that helps it shuttle into the muscle. It doesn't have that. So it goes to your liver no matter what. So what happens in your general public when they eat fructose, their liver is full of glycogen anyway. It goes into the liver and causes fatty liver disease. But when you're somebody who's cutting, you want to stimulate your metabolism, that little bit of fructose goes a long way. So it's all context dependent. If you overconsume it, it's bad for you. It's not good. So if you're trying to get your muscles full, fructose in little can help indirectly in a way where it stimulates your liver and also helps shuttling the glucose, not the fructose, into your muscles faster. There's studies that consumption of fructose and glucose at the same time shows increased glucose uptake in the muscle. There's studies to show that it can help you. It can help you shuttle glucose faster, and sodium as well, and caffeine as well. Caffeine and carbohydrates go hand in hand. It can help you, but again, overdoing caffeine has a lot of effects, especially people who are dieting. I've seen this a lot. When you consume caffeine, your iron consumption goes down. These people who are on diets, especially girls, or not eating any red meat or taking any iron supplements, they're getting anemic. They're not consuming enough food, and they're drinking a bunch of coffee, and they're depleting themselves. There's a thing called female athlete triad. This is amenorrhea, the bone loss, hair loss, all of that. It happens when females tend to overwork their bodies, and they go really restrictive and really low body fat. Happens in bodybuilders, happens in marathon runners. Again, extreme low energy, amenorrhea, which is cessation of your menses, and broken bones. I remember the Nike athlete Mary Kane had this thing. It was in the news, and again, it suppresses your hypothalamic pituitary axis, and it's just absence of your period due to non-physical cause. There's no physical cause you can point to, but it's a metabolic thing. So this can cause a lot of issues. That's why it's important. Calories in, calories out, important, but not managing these micronutrients, especially in your diet, and also how you come out of it, is super crucial. It's so important. That's why I'm recommending people to eat red meat, to get that iron, to get some organs, liver, even though I don't like the taste. It's so beneficial.
There's so much information, man, to talk about.
Well, we can talk about it some other time.
I'm 100% bringing you back. This has been an absolute excellent conversation.
Yeah.
But your appreciation of nature, I just want to point out the red moon that's there.
Oh, amazing.
And I'm conscious that the camera doesn't have much life in it, but I'm curious to see what it can do at night. So it's getting a special preview of the house, and then you can see there. We'll go outside in a minute. No.
Looks great.
Oh, she's coming up on the camera now. Let's see if I can get it stable. Hang on. Look at that. Look at that. The colour on it. Savage. Tolga.
Yeah.
How do you say your second name? Hadid?
Well, Hatay. But I go by Hadid on Instagram just for anonymity.
Anonymity
purposes.
I highly recommend everyone to get on his Instagram. So Tolga, Tolga
Hadid.
Hadid.
Yes. And also, like, lastly, the point on that female athlete triad. They tend to have lower estrogen because they're dieting for so long and stuff like that, and that can cause bone mineral loss, which is not good at all. So, and they're taking in low fat intake. They have the low fat intake, and their bodies cannot make the estrogen. It's so important just to have that balance. So I recommend people to do a really thought out diet plan, and don't rely on those rice cakes and bland foods that don't have any nutritional benefit. Really, it's just empty carbs. And I know it tastes good to be able to, grab your box of cereal, have a refeed day, but when you're refeeding, please think about the vitamins and the minerals that you're losing in your diet as well. That'll set you up for the future better, to have a better hormonal profile and longevity in the sport, I suppose.
Excellent. Tolga, I'm getting multiple warnings to get the battery changed. Thank you very much.
All right.
Peace out.
All right.
That was Tolga, man.
Well, some other time. There's always stuff to talk about, right?
Oh, Tolga, bye. That's as Joe Rogan as it gets for me.